Hello, warriors, and welcome to our very first challenge of many in our Learn DBT skills group. Whether you are watching this challenge from our Facebook group, whether you are watching the replay later from one of our pages, or possibly even on YouTube, I want to say welcome, and I'm going to introduce myself a little bit because we've got a couple more minutes before our training begins. So if you don't know me, my name is Jade Stanton. I am a BPD coach. I work with people with borderline personality disorder and all kinds of other things all over the world. So what I do is I help people learn skills and apply skills to their daily lives to meet some of their goals. And that's really what we're going to do today. Is we're going to talk about a skill, a tool that you can use to start moving towards your goals. And this tool that we're going to go over today is one of the very first tools that I used in my recovery. I had a very difficult recovery with mental health, and nothing I felt had worked before. No tools had worked. I had learned tons and tons of things. And this was the very first thing that I found that made a difference, and I actually still use it today. The first time I saw this tool was about 13 years ago, and I still use this tool on a regular basis as part of my recovery process. It's a great tool to come back to regularly if you are stressed out, if you're not sure, where to begin, if you're feeling scattered, if you're kind of feeling like you don't have a whole lot of direction with your mental health or really with life in general. This is a great kind of starting point for everybody, and it's good for beginners. So we are going to go over this tool. We're going to go over it in detail, how to make the best of it. And then we are going to use that to launch off our 7-day mood tracking challenge, which I'm very, very excited about. Lots of people have used this tool, and I'm excited to say there are great reports. There's great feedback about it, that they're getting the same type of results that I got when I used this tool, which was more awareness of our emotions, more ability to control our emotions. You're able to catch yourself before emotions get too heavy or too intense, and you can start to turn them around. Also, this tool is meant to help you catch your self-talk, because what you say to yourself really matters. And a lot of times we're very negative and we're pushing a lot of negative self-talk into our minds all day, every day. So this tool is meant to help you start to catch some of those things and turn them around and more. So we will get into that in just a couple of minutes. But welcome everybody who's coming in. I see you all. Hello. Happy Friday. I hope everybody's excited for the weekend. I know I sure am. And did everybody get their mood tracking tool? So drop in the comments if you picked up your mood tracking sheet off of the website. Or maybe you have one, maybe you're familiar with it, maybe you've been using it before. Let us know in the comments if this is a tool that you've used before that you're familiar with. So today, if you do not have the tool, head over to jadestanton.com, JADESTANTON.com, and download that tool. It's right at the very top of the page. You can click a button, enter your email, and you will get that tool instantly. That's what you're going to be using for the next 7 days. But for today, I'm going to be showing you guys actually how to use this just on a regular sheet of paper. So for those of you who don't have a printer, I'm going to tell you, the Pretty Daily sheet, the printable one, is nice. I love it. You can keep it in a binder. You can 3-hole punch it and print out a whole bunch of them and have them ready for yourself for the next 7 days. Or I recommend doing this for at least 30 days or longer. You can go and print out that tool, but what I'm going to do today is I'm going to actually be working off of a sheet of paper so I can show everyone, if you don't have a printer, you don't need one to be able to use this tool. You can use a sheet of paper, you can write it down in your journal, you can use a sticky note if necessary. I mean, you can really use anything to start creating a daily sheet out of. But if you like a nice guided printed sheet, go over to the website and make sure you grab that. Anybody grab that already? And does everybody have their daily sheet? Hopefully you do. If not, go grab that now. We're going to go ahead and get started. So like I said, this is the very first tool that I was ever given that made any difference in my life. I had been through tons of therapy, tons of treatment, tried tons of things. Nothing seemed to work. This was the first thing that started to even budge my daily habits. It started to really make a difference in the way that I managed my emotions. So this tool is really a DBT tool, in my opinion. I think what it helps us do is apply multiple skills without ever having to know what the DBT skills are. So if you don't know what the DBT skills are, you don't know specifically any skills, or you're new to this, that's okay. You can use this tool. It's not going to make any difference if you have no idea about DBT. But it's meant to help you actually start applying these skills already, not needing to know anything about them. So the very top of your sheet, you guys, if you have a sheet of paper, go ahead and pull out a sheet of paper or write this in your journal. At the very top of your page, you're just going to draw a box. All right, right at the top, all the way across, leave plenty of room. So you want enough room in here to write at least 3 or 4 sentences. All right, so go ahead and draw that on your paper. And this first section of your daily sheet is the affirmation section. Now, lots of us have heard of affirmations. It's like, okay, you're telling yourself life is great, life is beautiful, I love myself, good things are going to come to me. You know, you're saying all of these positive things to yourself, which is great, okay? It's wonderful to be talking to yourself positively throughout the day. But the way that we're going to use our affirmations is not quite so simple, all right? You can find many, many affirmations if you look on places like Pinterest. If you search them on Google, you'll find lists of affirmations that people use. Some are meant to help you, address self-confidence. Some are maybe relationship affirmations. Some are just general, ones to help lift your mood, to give you a positive attitude. Now, again, I'm not saying you can't use those. Those are all great. But what we tend to do is we tend to really throw those affirmations out, right? Especially those of us who have depression, anxiety, and BPD. We look at this stuff and we're like, my life is too painful. My pain is too intense. My emotions are too overwhelming. I am too skeptical about any of these affirmations to possibly buy into this. If I'm telling myself positive affirmations all day, my brain is saying, yeah, right, the whole time. So we don't want to just write in any positive affirmation in our box. The first thing that we're going to do in this top section of your page, in this top box, is we're going to come up with affirmations that are targeted to your negative self-talk, and we're going to turn them into a thought or an affirmation that's realistic and what we call middle path. All right, so step number 1, what are some of your negative self-talk statements? The things that you say to yourself, they come up automatically in your mind. You don't have to think about it. It's just over and over and over again, these statements are popping up in your mind. So it could be, I'm fat, I'm ugly. It could be, I hate myself. It could be, I hate my life. It could be, I wish my life was over. I'll tell you, mine were, I hate myself, I hate my life, I want to die, I hate everything, I can't stand this anymore, I can't do this. These are the types of things I was saying to myself day in and day out. It was like, what's the point? That's another statement that I would make to myself all the time. So what are 3 negative self-talk statements that you make to yourself? They might even be questions, right? Like, what's the point? What's the point of life? What's the point of trying? What's the point of working on myself? What are those 3 statements for you? Go ahead and type them into the chat box, and we are going to come up with some affirmations. I'm going to show you how to kind of change some of those around. So I'll give you guys a minute, take a sip of my handy dandy water, and let you guys kind of go at it. Now look, there's no shame, because I think everyone in the world probably has some type of negative self-talk at some point. But a lot of us, our self-talk is really rough. I mean, we say some really rough things to ourselves, right? So don't be ashamed if you do speak to yourself like that. You're not alone. I think a lot of us in this room, in this group, and probably a lot of the people that we know in our lives have some pretty rough self-talk, and we need to call it out. So let's take an example as you guys put those into your chat box. I'm just going to make sure I'm not missing any down there. Let's take, for example, I hate my life. I can't do this. Let's say that's your self-talk statement. You say that day after day. I hate myself. I hate my life. I can't do this. Now, you don't want to turn your affirmation into, I love myself. I love my life. I can do everything. Everything's wonderful. Right? Because again, your brain is not going to buy into that. It's really going to have a hard time accepting that. So we want to take a middle path. Okay, our affirmation might be something like, hey, recovery is difficult, but I can take small steps and do what I'm capable of doing right now in the moment. Right? That's more realistic. That's a more realistic affirmation than, oh, I love myself and I love life. Right? Another example might be, I'm working on building a life worth living. I'm taking steps toward creating a life that I want to live. Maybe one of your affirmations is, I'm relearning some of my old habits. It can be anything, but make sure that it's gentle. Your affirmations want to be gentle as much as possible. Does anybody want to share some of the affirmations that they use on their page, on their daily sheet? If you're using it already. If you're not, that's okay. Maybe you're familiar with affirmations, you've used them before in another context. But what are some affirmations, or maybe an affirmation you could challenge your self-talk with? Maybe it's something like, I'm becoming open, or I'm working on becoming more open to the idea of taking steps and making change in my life. You don't have to have this flowery, super positive affirmation. So what you do with your daily sheet then is you want to write in 3 affirmations that are targeting your specific negative self-talk. If you say, I hate my life, then you want to have an affirmation up here that says something like, I am actively working on building a life that I want to live again. Or, life may be difficult right now, but I am taking steps to make a better life for myself. Could be anything like that. But you want to take 3 affirmations. Now, once you have your 3 affirmations, and you don't have to come up with them right now, you want to keep the same 3 affirmations for the next 7 days, you guys. Do not change them. You don't want to replace them every single day. The point of these affirmations is to replace automatic negative self-talk, which is constantly popping up in your brain without any effort, right? It's just kind of a habit that your brain has gotten into. It sends you those thoughts, it sends you those signals without necessarily any cause or any reason, that you can recognize. What we're trying to do is we're trying to replace that with another automatic thought. That's why these want to be the same affirmations. You're saying them all day, every day for the next 7 days. The same ones, right? Don't change them around. So that takes care of the affirmation section. Does anybody have any questions about your affirmations? If you need ideas for what maybe an affirmation might be, share one of your negative self-talk statements and we can help you come up with an affirmation. If not, we are going to move on to the next section. All right, so underneath that top box that you drew on your paper, or if you are working off of the printout, there's going to be another little box on the right of your page, right underneath that. So go ahead and you can even draw in all 3 of these boxes if you're working on a sheet of paper. Or if you're using the sheet, notice you've got 3 boxes on the right sheet of your paper. We're going to take that one at the very top here. Everybody ready? All right, so next we have our goals. So this is, again, we do not want to overwhelm ourselves with a million goals. That's why this box is so small. You don't have room in here to write down every single thing you are going to do all day. The reason this box for your goals is so small is because we want to prioritize. This is meant to help, especially those of us who tend to have ADD or ADHD. We tend to be scattered. We might have a really hard time prioritizing things. We want to make sure that we're taking time out of our day to really focus on what absolutely needs to be done. What is the be all end all? One way to frame this is, hey, if I were going on vacation tomorrow, what absolutely would I need to get done today that I cannot make it another 24 hours without getting that thing done? Now on your goal section, on this next little box down here, you're gonna have 3 goals. I recommend only having 3. One is something you have to do. One is something you want to do. And one goal is skills related. All right, so I'll say that again. You have 3 goals per day. One goal is something you have to do. And this is a demand. an obligation. Maybe you have to go to work. Maybe you have a chore that you have to complete. Maybe you have a doctor's appointment that you have to attend. All right, so that's there to make sure that you're taking care of at least some obligation or demand throughout your day. That's goal number one. Goal number two is what we call a priority. This is not an obligation. It's not something you have to do because you have to pay your bills, or you have to take care of a health problem, or you have to do it for some other reason. Your priority is something you want to do because it's important to you. Or it's something you want to do because it's restful and you need it. So the reason we have one goal that's a demand and one goal that's a personal priority is because we want balance in our lives, right? If we are always focusing on demands, if everything on my goal list is something I have to do, I got to do a chore, I got to go to a doctor's appointment, I got to go to work, I got to make dinner, I got to, plan my day for the next day, I got to do this, do that, do this, do that, do this. That can be overwhelming, right? And it can be what happens to us when we do that, when we live life constantly in the state of like, I got to do this. We can get overwhelmed, but we can also start to feel hopeless, depressed, because nothing ever gets completed, right? I mean, we might have a list a mile long, but we really struggle to get it all done because there's so much. We might not even know where to begin. We want to have things that we need to do. We have demands, but we also want to balance that out. And this is the key, is balance. As much as we have things we need to get done throughout the day, we also need to have things that we enjoy, things that allow us to rest, things that rejuvenate us, things that help us because we like those things in our lives. Now this, again, could be anything. It could be maybe spending time with someone that you love. It could maybe be going for a swim. Maybe it's doing your hair or your makeup. Maybe it's going for a walk. Those things can all be things that you want to do, but it's really up to you. What do you find restful? What do you need to balance out your demands throughout the day? So does anybody want to share what are some of your demands? On your goal list, what's an example of a demand you might have to write down for today or for tomorrow? Now, I know we're coming up on the weekend, so maybe you don't have a ton of demands, hopefully, on the weekends. But maybe you got a chore to do. Maybe you've got to fold your laundry, or, clean out the weeds in the garden, or something like that. To be patient. Okay, so someone said my goal is to be patient. Okay, so what you're actually going to do is you're going to write that down in the next box. So for you, the person who said to be patient, go ahead and write down in the second box, patience. We're going to come back to that. But that would be more of a value, patience. You can also write that down as a priority. That would be a personal priority. Someone said leave the house to grocery shop. Okay, very good, right? So it's maybe something that you don't love to do. It's not something you're doing for fun, but it's something that is necessary. Pay a bill. Very good. Okay, another one. Maybe it's something you don't do for fun, right? You don't get on the computer and pay your bills online just because you want to. You do it because you have to. Very good. That's a demand. It's okay if you forgot your sheet. That's no problem, you guys. If you don't have the daily sheet downloaded yet, go ahead and just grab a sheet of paper. That's why I figured we would show everybody on a sheet of paper today, just in case you don't have a printer or you didn't have your sheet yet. Study hour, okay? So maybe you're in school, or maybe you're doing some type of study or some class, and you might have homework or something like that. That could be a demand, right? And so that's one of your goals. Now, you've got a demand. What is your priority that you're going to balance that out with? You got to study. Maybe you're paying your bills tomorrow. Maybe you're cleaning something. What are you going to do that you want to do? What's something that you would like to do for yourself today or tomorrow? And some people get stumped with this question. They're like, do stuff for myself? What do you mean? And I think it's really important. I think already some people, when they're filling out their daily sheet for the first time, they realize, like, wow, my balance of demands and priorities is, I've got way too many demands and not enough self-care time, or maybe I'm taking care of myself a lot, but I'm not really taking care of my demands a lot. And so now we're starting to bring some awareness. So you guys said, okay, well, I can balance some of my demands with going to the sauna, walking my dog, cycling, finishing my diamond art, love it, artwork, creativity, very good, going outside, being in nature, sewing projects, very good. Okay, so you said cleaning the house. Someone said cleaning the house today and tomorrow going to the zoo. Perfect. That's an example of balance. It's saying, look, okay, I'm gonna work and play. And this is what we want for our mental health. We want a good balance of work and play. Okay? So you take care of your demands, and then maybe you watch your favorite TV show and go on a walk with the dogs. Very good. All right, you guys got that. So that takes care of goal number 1 and goal number 2. Goal number 3 is a skills-related goal. So that might be for this first week, your number 3 goal down here might be filling out my daily sheet, doing my mood tracking sheet. In fact, if you are new to using the mood tracking sheet, I recommend that that's your number 3 goal for the next 7 days. Just fill out my mood tracking sheet. Even if you do it imperfectly, even if you only get a couple of things filled in, that's okay. Try to make that a daily goal. Now, if you're working on other skills, you can fill in whichever skills you are working on for that day or that week. Maybe you're working on mindfulness skills, observing, describing. Maybe you're working on communication skills, Dear Man, Give, Fast. You can write in whichever skills you are working on in your DBT or maybe in your therapy down on that 3rd goal. Any questions so far? So just to recap, you guys, up here, we've got 3 affirmations that target our specific negative self-talk. Next, we've got a box with our 3 goals. 1 thing we have to do, pay the bills, clean the house, go to work. Number 2, something we want to do, walk the dogs, sew, read, go for a swim. And number 3, a skills goal. Fill out my daily sheet, practice my communication skills, practice opposite action, etc. Any questions? I'm going to give everybody a minute. So if you do have questions, feel free to type them into the chat box. And then we are going to move on to the rest of our class. We are just pushing right through today. By the way, I'll take now to just thank everybody for showing up. Thank you for showing up for yourself. You know, I'd be doing this even if there was 1 person in the room, but you guys showed up for yourself, and that's something to be proud of in itself. In fact, that's something that you can write down on your sheet in a moment. Good info. Awesome. Good. Okay, I'm glad that it's valuable. All right, so let's go ahead and move on. We've got our affirmations, and I'll write that down on my page so you guys can, so we're keeping track here. We've got our affirmations at the top. We've got our goals next. And now underneath, we've got another box, all right? This center box right here. Now this box is where your values are going to go. Now why is this box important? So our self-identity, for those of us who are here because we're trying to work on borderline personality disorder, we know self-identity is a struggle, right? And so finding our self-identity and connecting with our self-identity and building our self-identity is something that we want to be actively working on. That's the main reason why we have this values box. But let's say you're not here to use the daily sheet because you have BPD. Let's say you've got something else, or you're just here to kind of improve your emotional intelligence skills or decrease your stress levels or whatever it is. Your values are what drive your goals and your behavior. All right? If I value money, then I'm going to probably have a lot of goals to make money, right? I'm going to have a lot of things that I want to do to try to make money because I value money. But let's say I value family. Let's say I value family relationships. Well, now I'm going to have some goals, maybe to build a family, or to do things with my family, or to speak a certain way, or behave a certain way with my family. And so your values are what guide your actions. They guide your behaviors. So we want to be paying attention to which values we have and which values we want more of. Which values do you want to exhibit more of in your life? Like, what type of person do you want to be? That's really what this box is asking you. So what type of person do you want to be for the next 7 days? What are some of your number one values? A lot of people say honesty. I mean, that's probably the number one, like, first value that I get from people. I want to be honest. I personally, my favorite value is integrity. I love that value because it encompasses a lot of things. It's like, okay, I'm walking the walk and talking the talk. I'm following through with action on what I think and what I believe and what I say. Maybe your values are love, peace, patience, kindness. Now, one way to identify what your values are is to look at some of the things that you're struggling with yourself, all right? What are some of the things that you don't like about yourself? Maybe you get really angry a lot. Maybe you get reactive a lot. Maybe you get defensive a lot, and you don't really like that so much. Well, then it might suggest that your values are to listen. Maybe your values are to have patience. Maybe your values are to are positive communication, healthy boundaries, healthy communication. So these things might be your values. Let's say you struggle with addiction, right? And that's something that you don't like, that you want to work on, that you want to change. Okay, well, what are some of your values? Maybe some of your values are acceptance, forgiveness, growth, self-control, taking steps, things like that. So does anybody want to share what some of their top values are that you want to be working on actively, especially over the next 7 days, that you want to keep at the forefront of your mind? What are your top values? Maybe it's spirituality. Maybe it's friendliness. Maybe you value fun. Maybe you value adventure. Maybe you value listening, okay? Maybe you value connecting with others. Maybe you value compassion, giving, building healthy relationships, patience, faith, health. Excellent. Health is a value too. Mental health, physical health, emotional health. Especially one that applies to our next 7 days, right? We're talking about emotional health, mental health. And so by doing this page, by working on this challenge this week, you guys, what are you doing? You're acting on your values. If you value mental health and you value emotional intelligence, you value growth, you value positive change, you value self-confidence. These things, we're taking action to live out those values by filling out this sheet on a daily basis. So give yourself some props, all right? Because you are already starting to act out on some of your values. And if you don't know which values those are, what values guided you to commit to this challenge this week? Yes, if you go to jadestanton.com and put your email right there in the box, it will send you that daily sheet directly to your email right then and there. You'll have it immediately. You'll have access right away. And I think I posted the link in this video too. It should be around somewhere. So we've got our affirmations, our goals, our values, all right? We've got 3 boxes filled out so far. And again, you guys, if you do not have a printer, that's okay. Just use a piece of paper, use your journal, that's fine to do. But I recommend going and grabbing that daily sheet off the website, printing out a few copies, and putting it into a binder, and then you can fill them out daily and have them ready. But let's go ahead to our next section, because this last box down here is our affirmations. Oh, we have a question. Do the goals change each day? Yeah, so they can. It depends. So if you have a goal you're working on regularly, like let's say you're working on reading more often, that's a goal of yours that you don't just want to do today, you want to build a habit every day of reading. Well, then I might keep that goal the same, until that habit of reading is established. Does that make sense? But you can absolutely change your goals every day, as long as you're using it to keep balance and make sure that you're prioritizing things throughout your day. Yeah, so you can change those each day. For me personally, I usually have work is my demand, whatever coaching calls I have or classes I have or whatever it is, that's usually like the main thing that I focus on. That's my priority throughout the week. And then on the weekends it changes, right? So just depends. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so now we are on to our last box. And this box is very important, but it's one that we ignore a lot of times. And I wish that we didn't, because it's very, very valuable. This last box is where we put down our accomplishments. All right, so go ahead and draw in that third box if you're not using the daily sheet printout, and write in accomplishments at the top. This box is something you're going to be filling out throughout the day. I usually fill it out, check in with my accomplishments 3-4 times a day when I'm using the daily sheet, okay? Everything you do that is even slightly difficult or challenging, even if it's not challenging, but it's just something you accomplished, write it down, okay? So this box was originally kind of meant to address the very smallest things, all right? For example, I was depressed. I was so depressed I could not get out of bed. And so if I got out of bed, that was an accomplishment. Typically I'd think, oh great, I got out of bed, like what's the big deal? Most people get out of bed all of the time. I did nothing fantastic or great. I'm not making progress just because I got out of bed. That's how I would talk to myself, right? But if I'm not rewarding myself for getting out of bed, I'm going to struggle. If I'm not giving myself positive feedback for getting out of bed, then I'm not going to want to get out of bed the next day. This is to help give yourself positive rewards and attention for the things that you are doing, whether it's getting out of bed, brushing your teeth, taking a shower, if you get to work, if you make it to an appointment on time, if you do a check-in, if you write down an affirmation. All of those things are accomplishments, and you want to be paying attention to those things. Too often our brain is focused on what we didn't do. We didn't get this done. We didn't do enough. We only did it halfway. We're focused on, how our flaws, our faults. This box is meant to get you to change the way that you're thinking and focus on what you've done well. Because the truth is, if you're focusing on what you've done well, you're more likely to keep doing those things, and that's what we want. We want to keep doing the things that we're doing that are positive, and then build on those things. It's about where your focus is. So what are some accomplishments you've had today already? Well, you're here. You attended the live training, so write that down right then and there. You started a daily sheet, so that's 2. Write that down. Those are 2 big things that you've accomplished already today. It's 12:30 p.m. where I am. The day's not even half over. And you've already done some incredible things. So congratulations. Write it down as an accomplishment. What else are some things that you've accomplished today? Even if it's something that someone else might not think is an accomplishment. Maybe you made a phone call. Making phone calls is really tough for you. Maybe you apologized to someone, and that was rough. Maybe you used one of your skills. So this last accomplishments box is also a place where you can record your skills use. Did you practice mindfulness? Did you pay attention to your body sensations? Did you change your self-talk? Did you respond to someone effectively? Write all of those things down in your accomplishments. All right, so we are getting to the very last part of our daily sheet, you guys. Is everybody caught up up to now? And do you have any questions? Very good. Okay, so someone said, hey, an accomplishment that I had today, I made plans with a friend. Committing to plans is really hard, okay? So if you did that, write it down on the accomplishments, and everybody give you a round of applause. Validated someone else. Very good. That's an accomplishment. We want to give ourselves credit when we do those things, because it's going to help encourage us and motivate us to do them more and do them more consistently. All right, so that's part of our behavior change. That's part of our building new habits, is paying attention to our wins, our accomplishments. Now we are going to do the very last part of our page. So we've filled out boxes, and if you're looking at the daily sheet, there are these pink boxes on the printout. We've already filled those out. The last part that we're going to get to are the check-ins. And this is where the mood tracking comes in. So if you've stuck around this long, congratulations, okay? On the left side of your page, you're gonna draw in a couple boxes. If you're working off a piece of paper or you're working off your journal, draw in a couple of boxes. These are gonna be check boxes. You're gonna check those off once you've done a check-in. So let's talk about mood tracking. Why do we mood track? The main reason why we do this, and this is a good thing to kind of help stick it in your mind, you guys remember this, write it down. You can't change something you're not aware of. Awareness leads to change, right? If you're not aware of it, you're not going to change it. You're not even aware that you need to change it. And so the whole point really of this entire daily sheet is to build awareness, not for the sake of awareness, but for the sake of change, right? We want to build awareness so we know what to change, when to change it, and so we're able to change those things quickly before emotions or thoughts or behaviors get so out of control that it's causing damage to us and the people around us. That's the point of this whole sheet, right? We think it's just a little, worksheet, little tracking sheet, whatever, looks like a kindergartner could use it, sure. The point is, it's meant to help you bring awareness so you can create change. It doesn't matter what type of change you want to make. You first have to build the awareness of what's even leading up to maybe you struggling to make those changes. So this is where our check-ins come in. We're going to be tracking our moods, one, to catch our moods before they get out of control. If you struggle with mood control, if you struggle with anger turning into rage and turning into lashing out and getting defensive really quickly and it's destroying your relationships, these check-ins are meant to help you recognize and notice when you're starting to get a little irritated or you're starting to get a little defensive, catch it and turn it around before it goes off the deep end, right? Same thing with feelings of overwhelm and stress, okay? If you notice a little bit of stress, you know already it's time to put in some tools or it's time to make sure that I'm managing the stress effectively. Don't let the stress grow and grow and grow throughout your day because you weren't even aware that it was happening until bam, all of a sudden you're so stressed and overwhelmed, you're ready to just shut down. So this is why the daily sheet is important. It's helping us avoid some of these extremes and put in tiny changes throughout our day without even necessarily needing to know which skills to use or how to use them. Let's talk about how to do a check-in. A check-in has 3 steps. Step number 1 is writing down your mood level, 1 through 10. 1 being the worst you've ever felt in your life, 10 being the best you've ever felt in your life. Now, why do we do it this way? This is kind of a way to step back from our emotions and just get a non-judgmental view. That's why we want to give it a number. We don't want to say our mood is good or bad or we feel great or we feel terrible. We just want to recognize where on the scale we are, right? Are you more towards, hey, I'm feeling good, I'm having positive emotions? Are you maybe in the middle where you've got some negative and some positive emotions going on? Are you more towards the lower scale where you've got some negative or painful emotions going on? So everybody take a moment right now in this present moment and check in. What is your mood level right now, 1 to 10? 1 being the absolute worst you've ever felt in your whole life. 10 being the best you've ever felt in your whole life. Best day ever. What's your current one right now? And you might even notice it changing minute by minute. Maybe it was a 6 when you first started this training and now it's a 7. Okay, we got a 6 and in the middle somewhere, maybe 4, 5, 6. We've got a 5, 7. Very good. Okay, so one of my general rules to look out for, you guys, is if your mood levels are starting to sink low or they get below a certain number, that might be a red flag for, hey, it's time to put in some skills. We've got some 5s in there. Okay, excellent. So for me personally, my general rule is if my mood level gets below a 6, then it's time for me to start using some skills. I already know, like, hey, my mood level is sinking or something. There's something I want to be doing, all right? Even if it's resting, even if it's just like taking a break from everything and stepping back and giving myself some grace, right? There might be something I want to put in. So wherever that line is for you might be different. You might say, okay, well, I'm used to living at a 5. So as long as I'm at a 5, I'm okay. But if I go to a 4, I go to a 3, I'm starting to get into crisis area. Does that make sense, everybody? What mood level do you tend to be at when you notice, hey, things are starting to slide? I'm starting to sink. I'm starting to spiral. I'm starting to fall into crisis. What mood level do you tend to get when that starts to happen? What do you want to look out for when you're doing your mood tracking sheet? A 3? Good one. Okay. Right, so if you get at a 3 or below, that might be, hey, crisis skill time. All right? Around a 3. Right, okay. 10, you mean a 1, like if it gets to the very lowest of the scale, it's time to put in a crisis scale, or a crisis skill. 3 to 4 is my pay attention range. Yeah, okay, you got it. That's how we refer to it. Yeah, it's like your pay attention range. Very good. 3 to 4, 4. Okay, very good. All right, excellent, you guys. So sometimes I will use a highlighter. If I notice mood levels getting to those pay attention ranges, I'm going to highlight those check-ins. All right, so go ahead and we're going to fill in our very first check-in on your very first box here, and you're going to write in your current mood level, whether it's a 5, 7, 8, 2, whatever it is, write it in. All right, I'm going to write in a 4 since that's the last one I see on our chat box. All right, write in a 4, and then you can put a comma or a dash. So step number 1 of a check-in, what's your mood level, 1 through 10? Step number 2, what's the specific emotion you are feeling right now? Now that's a complicated question, right? It's not always simple to know what emotion we're feeling right now. But we want to do our best to pinpoint it. If you need help, I recommend going and printing out an emotion list. If you're in the masterclass, there's one in there for you. If you're not in the masterclass, there's lots of free emotion lists you can find online. But what emotion are you feeling right now? Let's check in with ourselves right now and see what are the emotions that you're feeling. Now, I typically keep it to 1 to 2, 3 emotions at most. So maybe you're feeling nervous, but also excited. That's how I was feeling before this live training. It's like, I'm nervous, but I'm also excited, which is how I always get before we do groups. Maybe you feel downhearted. Maybe you feel afraid. Maybe you feel panicked. Maybe you feel irritated. Maybe you feel content. Maybe you feel peaceful. The more specific, the better, okay? You do not want to write in, I feel good or bad. I feel terrible, horrible. That's not what we want to do. We want to name a specific emotion. If it's not an emotion word, it's not an emotion, right? So numb, anxious. Okay, very specific. Numb, yes, can definitely be an emotion. Numb and empty. In fact, for those of us in the room who are here working on our BPD, you might notice this one coming up on your page because it can be a symptom, right? So emptiness, numbness, it's very important for us to identify when that emotion is happening, right? Because it's telling us something. It's letting us know something. It's leading us and motivating us to pay attention. And so that's something we would definitely want to write on our daily sheet. Very good. And not an easy one to identify, by the way. It's very hard to really identify the feeling of numbness or emptiness. So nice specific identification. I mean, it's not a fun feeling to feel. And you know, I want to validate that. But you did a really excellent job of identifying the specific emotion. That is a difficult emotion to pinpoint. Someone else said peace, hope, optimistic. Very good. Yeah, got you, girl. Gotcha. Okay, awesome. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're very welcome. We all deserve some validation, right? We do. Okay, awesome. So we have our first 2 steps of our check-in done. We have mood level, 1 through 10. We have 2, our emotion, whatever current emotion we are feeling right now, in 1 or 2 or 3 words, right? And then the last step of our check-in is we are saying our affirmations. And you guys, if you can, I want you to say them out loud. This is hard. I will be honest with you guys. I tell everybody openly and honestly the first 30 days that I used this tracking sheet and had to say my affirmations out loud, I cried. I just cried. I cried every single time. Every time I had to say it, I was like, oh, I'm working on loving myself, I'm working on forgiving myself, and I'm like crying the whole time. I did not want to say them out loud. It's not easy to give ourselves positive feedback, but you can do this. You can say it out loud. Sometimes it can be helpful to say it to a pet. Sometimes it can be helpful to say it to the mirror. Sometimes it can be helpful to get a friend or a loved one involved and have them affirm your affirmation. So you say, hey, I'm forgiving myself for everything that this mental illness has caused for me. And they can affirm that and say, yeah, you need to forgive yourself. It's good to forgive yourself. You're forgiven. All right, so you can enlist other people to help confirm your affirmations to you, and this can be really helpful. All right, so just in short, this is what a mood check-in looks like. As we are using this sheet primarily to track our moods, although it has all of these other components to it, the main point is to be tracking our moods and building awareness of our moods throughout the day and our behaviors throughout the day. A check-in only takes 3-4 seconds if you get into the habit of doing it. All right, so I might step back and say, okay, my mood level's at a 7. I feel peaceful, excited, and a little nervous. I'm working on loving myself. I'm building a life worth living. I forgive myself for the things that I've done in the past. That's a check-in. Does everybody see how quickly that you can get a check-in done? You don't have to spend an hour doing check-ins. It takes just a couple of seconds, all right, once you get into the habit. Now, your first few times that you do this, maybe even the first couple days that you do this, it might take you a little bit to figure out what you're feeling, what's the emotion that you're feeling, or even identifying your mood level might be a challenge. But as you practice, you will be able to do this more and more quickly, all right, especially if you're using an emotion list to assist you. All right, so we want to be able to eventually be able to do a check-in and say, okay, I'm a level 2. I'm feeling I'm feeling discouraged and I'm feeling hopeless. I'm working on building a life worth living. I forgive myself for everything that's happened in the past, and you're saying those affirmations. Now, once you have done your check-in and said your affirmations, put a check mark there. Just check off your box. Done for the day. All right, so someone asked a great question. This is exactly where I was going next. How often a day are we doing check-ins? So ideally, you guys, if you want to go all in with this challenge, set an alarm for every hour on the hour. Every hour on the hour that you are awake. Now, that is a challenge, right? That is a serious challenge. So let me say something on the side, okay? There are many of us who do not work well just going all in like that, okay? We have a really hard time saying, okay, I'm gonna do this every hour on the hour, and then we don't do them all the first day, and then we feel like we failed, and then we give up on the challenge, and then we just forget about it. We don't do any check-ins anymore, right? And that happens. I've done it. I know some of us in this room have probably done it too. So what's better than just starting off every hour on the hour is to build up a habit. So I might start with 3 check-ins per day, morning, noon, night, and then build up from there to every hour on the hour, if possible. Now, I will tell you, if you set alarms hourly or set an egg timer for hourly, you will eventually get into the habit of checking in with yourself every hour without the need for an alarm. Your body starts to it knows the hour is coming up. And this can really help for those of us with ADHD who like lose our time. This can be very, very helpful for that too. But yeah, you can, so if you are the type that feels overwhelmed with doing every hour on the hour, please feel free to just start with 3 check-ins per day, morning, noon, and night, right? If you want to go all in, and you guys, I do recommend, if you want to get the most out of this though, do as many as you possibly can. It doesn't matter if you're doing 3 an hour, right? Just do as many as you possibly can. Keep this sheet next to you. Keep it in mind. Read over your affirmations throughout the day. Read over your values throughout the day. Keep this at the forefront of your mind, because it's also a way to keep your mental health at the forefront of your mind, to keep your recovery at the forefront of your mind, to keep your goals at the forefront. And this is how we create change, is we focus on it. We're aware of it over and over and over again throughout the day. Pretty soon, this can become an automatic habit, and you won't need a daily sheet all of the time, and you won't need all of these reminders all of the time. You'll be able to quickly identify, this is what my mood is, this is what my goal is in the moment, and you'll be able to take action, all right? But you have to practice. That is the key. That is the number one key for making this work for you, is you've got to practice. You've got to use it. Okay, you guys? So are we committed? Because I'm committing with you guys to this daily sheet for the next 7 days. I'm going to be posting about it. I'm going to be sharing tips and things that you can do, some ideas. And so if you want to commit to this challenge, you're going to have support throughout the week. If you have questions, you can ask them in the group and all of that. But who is committing to the daily sheet for the next 7 days for our mood tracking challenge? I know I sure am. Again, I recommend getting a binder to put those in, put your daily sheet in. You can always work out of your journal too, you guys. So if you do not have a printer and you don't have all of the ink in the paper to print out 1,000,000 daily sheets, don't think that you are out of this challenge, okay? You can do this on a regular sheet of paper, and it's no worries. It's just as good. In fact, you can design your own daily sheets and make it fun and exciting for yourself. Put some stickers on there. Throw some highlighters on there. You know, make it exciting. Look at you guys. Okay, I'm so excited. Awesome. It looks like everybody's committed to doing this. I'm excited to doing it with you guys. Listen, if you miss a day, if you miss check-ins, if you forget, you are not out of the challenge, okay? Just try again the next day. There is no failing. If you miss out and you skip a day, you did not fail the challenge. Just pick up the next day and try again, or maybe it's at night, just start one at night. Doesn't matter. Just do your very best. Your best is enough. We're just working on making progress. We do not expect perfection here, right? Good luck. Let me know how it goes, you guys. I'm going to see you and check in with you over the next few days. And I hope everybody has a good weekend. Bye.